Hey guys, Jens here, and today, yesterday I made a video about how Warlock felt bad and it felt weird. You can check it on my YouTube channel. I'm not gonna post it on the forums because it was just random stuff. And today I'm gonna give my feedback and give some ideas to actually fix Warlocks within this expansion and probably the next one. But before I start, I want to say I'm not a fan, and probably I'm one of the few Warlocks, but I'm not a fan of the Zelnut mop redesign of Warlocks using shards for damage, either in Destro or Affliction. I like the demo redesign, obviously, like everyone else. I think like mop demo was one of the most fun specs. But in terms of distraction, I don't like the fact that you spam Chaos Bolt, and in terms of affliction, I don't like the fact that we have a resource where we don't really have control, and you can't really attach soul shards to Drain Soul or Shadow Bolt. Um, the way you generate them, it's random. Obviously, the more agonies you have, the more chances you have of getting a soul shard, but I'm not a fan of the design. And it's not only with Warlocks. I'm not a fan of the design of many specs that were changed in Legion, like Boomkins, Elementals, um, what more? Shadow Priests, kind of. I'm not a fan of designs where you make classes builder spenders. Okay, so everything right now it's like a rogue, where you have combo points and soul shards for that matter are actually combo points, and I don't like that. But I gotta adapt because I'm addicted to the game. So the changes I'm gonna propose are within the current design, because for me I would just remove all of these other secondary resources and would go back to mana being the thing for all casters, every caster, either DPS or healer. But since we don't have that and we have the current design, my ideas are going to focus on that. But first we need to analyze the problem with the affliction now, and I'm gonna divide this into PvE and PvP, and PvE actually affects PvP in this case. That's why I'm touching it, obviously. So the first problem with with Warlocks, and I said this on beta, and for whoever said, "Oh, I don't have problems with this. You just need to be better." I have, or when I raided, I used to have 90% plus logs. So when I say I have a problem with something, it's not because I can't do it, it's because I don't feel right doing it. And the first problem right now it's dot duration. It's not even its damage, obviously it's also the damage, but dot duration it's a big problem, and I'm gonna show you on this training dummy why it is a big problem. Without cooldowns, okay, we have full dots without any cooldowns. Then we need to reapply Shadow's Embrace, and then we go into Malefic Rapture windows. You do 3 Malefic Raptures and you already have to reapply shit. This is a problem, okay? Like you're already having to reapply this, and then you go back to this. This doesn't feel right, and then you do 2 Malefic Raptures and you already have to reapply stuff. Okay, this is a problem. This is the crux of the affliction problem right now, is the dot duration being so low. Siphon life it's 15, corruption it's 14. It goes up to 18 once you reapply it within the pandemic window, and agony it's 18 seconds. And that's why the spec feels so weird, because it feels like you're playing dot simulator, and you're not playing dot simulator for them to actually do damage. Even you're just doing them for Malefic Rapture. So you just do all of this juggling with the dots and trying to get all the dots, and then Hound, and then Shadow's Embrace to 3, just to do this, just to spam one button, you need to spam 5 other buttons to just spam one button. And at some point, you need to reapply Shadow's Embrace. Like, the spec overall feels horrific, okay? And this is the main reason why in PvE the spec feels so bad and feels like you have to be focused 100%, while other classes, like for example a Shadow Priest, just has to keep 2 dots on the target and just burst with the Devouring Plague whenever possible. Um, so this is the main reason why yesterday I made a video about Warlocks not feeling weird. The dot duration needs to be increased and needs to be increased within Shadowlands. You, you can't have dots, baseline dots like Corruption lasting for 14 seconds, and Siphon Life shouldn't last for 15 seconds. It should last, besides it does no damage, like any other dot, it does no damage, 1.9k shadow damage, it's very low. Um, we just need to buff the dot duration. And if you think that then it's gonna make the spec feel I don't know, feel boring, I would rather, and this is my personal opinion, I'd rather have a boring spec, but that is actually super fluid, than having this spec that you constantly struggling with yourself. This is what it feels. And for example, stuff like Dark Lair, I don't like it, I hate it. But if you didn't have this in PvE, it would actually make it feel worse. And then you have talents. I'm not gonna talk about the talents and the redesign I would do to them right now, but I'm gonna talk about this creeping death that actually fights your spec. So you spec into this, you put a corruption and it's 12 seconds. You put a siphon life, 13 seconds. Like it makes no sense because what you want is to Malefic Rapture, and having a talent that actually fights the own spec you're playing, and fights the main reason why you're even playing the spec, which is to rot, and just reduces that by 15%. It's horrific. That's why creeping that is so bad to play in PvP, because it feels like you're just reapplying, or even in PvE, just feels like you're reapplying dots all the time, and you can't really Malefic Rapture whenever free casting because you have to reapply them. Um, I'm gonna do a burst so you guys see what I mean. Dark Lair always makes it better, but yeah, you pop Lust, you get all the dots. Obviously, Agony should probably be first, right? By now you want to get, okay? And now you burst. That's all you do. Malefic Rapture, you reapply this, Malefic Rapture, and after this, you're back to Redot Simulator, right? With dotting app stuff, Malefic Rapture, and like the damage. And by the way, I'm not even PvE gear. The damage, it's kind of high, to say the least, for a guy that is not PvE geared. The damage is super high, but it doesn't feel after your Dark Lair goes and the duration of dots come back to normal. It just feels like you're once again playing Dot Simulator. So Dark Lair, it's a fix for something that it wasn't broken before Legion, before they redesigned the whole spec, and it's not needed. I would like to see Dark Lair gone and our dot duration just come up. I think that is the biggest problem right now, and the fact that you're spending shards on AoE, it's super weird. Once again, you're spending shards on an AoE spell when you already have Seed of Corruption for that. So I'm gonna give you some ideas for Malefic Rapture for a single target shard spender, and some ideas about Seed of Corruption. And yeah, let me know if you like it. The redesign I'm gonna start right now. So in my opinion, all dots, like I said, should be at least 20 to 25 seconds. So I would say like agony should be our highest duration dot with 25 to 30 seconds, like in classic. Corruption should be around 24, which is actually the duration it has in PvP when you pick absolute corruption. Unstable affliction should be around 21 seconds, I don't mind that. And siphon life should be around 25 to 30 seconds. This allows you to just not having to focus as much as you do now dotting. I've seen a lot of people asking for GCD change um, when you're applying dots, so it's half the duration, and it reminds me of people asking for different stuff like cooldowns on polymorph for PvP, or cooldowns on instant CC, or not on instant, on spammable CC like fear polymorph, and I think it's overreacting. I think people need to understand that sometimes the problem it's not the spell itself, like polymorph, um, because the spell itself has been working the same way since classic, pretty much, just with some changes in rat. And the problem doesn't come from the spell; it comes from something that happened in between uh, classic and right now that allows that spell to be so good. And it's the same thing here, like before we didn't had GCD reduction on dots, and we could keep dots on 3 to 4 targets um, if you were really good. And by dots I also mean unstable affliction. um, so the GCD change is not needed when you have dot duration actually high, and I would rather have a dot duration high than a GCD change, because then all of a sudden you actually have time to do more stuff in PvP and PvE other than just redotting and casting 2 or 3 Malefic Raptures within that window. And by the way, during that burst I didn't pick Vile Taint on purpose because I fucking hate this talent. A dot that lasts 10 seconds that spends a shard and you have to spam Malefic Rapture within that window. It just feels super awkward when you don't have a builder for shards and you always start at 3 shards. So I don't think the GCD change should be done. I think the dot duration should though. Um, Another change I would like to see with the dot duration increased is unstable affliction. Stop just having no limits to the targets you can actually dot. This was changed during alpha or beta, where you started with the limit 1, but then people complained about it and they changed it, and people started to to complain about not being able to keep up with the dots. Why? Because of dot duration. And instead of saying to Blizzard that the dot duration should be increased, there were a few players that said that, oh, dot duration is not a problem, the problem is this, and this, or just the problem is you get better, which fucking annoy me, by the way. Um, but you couldn't keep up 3 unstable afflictions on targets just because of dot duration. Once again, people reacted to something that it wasn't a problem itself, which was unstable affliction, instead of reacting to the main problem, which was once again dot duration. So the first change I think they need to do, and they need to do it in Shadowlands, is just increase the dot duration and remove the limit to unstable affliction. It makes no sense that a Shadow Priest can triple Devouring Plague with good gear and good haste, and the Warlock can't triple unstable affliction. It makes absolute no sense. It shouldn't be happening at all. Okay, said that. Let's check the talent and see what I would do. So I did this on the previous video, but I'm gonna still do it. So on this row, I don't think we need many changes. I think we just need some small changes, and the talents don't really need to be removed. So I would like to have Nightfall and Drain Soul baseline, and we can still keep the talent, but make it a bit different. So make it so that when enemy dies and has Drain Soul, you get with this talent you get 5 shards and you get a haste buff. So let's say you Drain Souling an enemy and you get instantly 5 shards with this, and then you get like a 15% haste buff for 10 seconds or something. This would make Drain Soul super good for fast Mythic Plus, like Mythic Plus, a lower Mythic Plus. So every pool you actually start with almost a mini Bloodlust, right? And you can reapply your dots super fast. Inevitable Demise just needs a straight up buff. I think the problem right now is the damage in it. You build up this talent just to do 15% more damage. Doesn't really feel impactful. Still the best one in PvP. Nightfall, I think it should be baseline. And this talent should just increase the damage and give you an extra charge um, of Nightfall. So right now you have two. I don't think that's like we don't need that. And you don't pick this talent because Shadow Bolt does no damage. Obviously, you need to have Shadow Bolt do damage. And after that, after you actually buff Shadow Bolt, just make Nightfall super impactful, and it allows you to have two Nightfall procs saved, which you can right now. But yeah. Oh, and before I start, excuse me, I would love to see a kind of Wrath of the Lich King design single target where you just keep dots, you keep shadow bolting. That's why I want Drain Soul baseline. You keep shadow bolting to 35% of the boss HP, and then you swap or the player, and then you swap to Drain Soul, and Drain Soul is easier execute, and you only press Shadow Bolt to on procs from Nightfall, right? So yeah, here yesterday I said something, and I think I'm gonna just change it. Since corruption would be 24-second duration at least, you could remove the part where it doesn't go off in PV. I think you don't need that, and it kind of removes some skill. So here I would just like increases the damage, maybe slows the target like Sacrolash, but instead of 50%, maybe 15% would be a good number, and or 30% would be a good number, and gives you the glyph, the old glyph where it healed you for 50% of its damage, I think. Right in Agony, it would be fine if the duration wasn't so low on Agony, and Siphon Life just needs a duration buff and obviously a damage buff. It's pretty much the same, and I really like Siphon Life, by the way. But yeah, here I think it makes no sense having Burning Rush on survivability row. So I would just do one of two things. I would either add Soul Link here for all specs, or I would just make Demon Armor here for all specs and remove Soul Link from Demo Warlocks. And from this, Demon Armor being kinda baseline, instead of armor, maybe give us a percent mitigation, like 15 or 20%, and I think we should pretty fine here. Um, and I think this should also. I want to talk about this as well, which is an ending resolve. I don't think it should give us immunity to kicks or silences. I think it should straight up be defensive, and being too tanky and having an ending resolve might actually be a problem because then you can use it offensively, and I don't think in PvP it should be done offensively. Okay, on this, I would like And this is the main change. Remove Vile Taint. A lot of warlocks might like this talent. I hate it. I don't think it's fun to press it. Like, it's just an AoE dot, okay? Lasts 10 seconds. Great. And here, I would add the Malefic Rapture, and I'm gonna tell you after what I think we can do to fix Mythic Plus and Shard Spenders. But I'm gonna talk about it later. Here, Hall of Terror, I'm one of those old guys that would like to see each spec with one of these. So here for Affliction, Hall of Terror would be baseline. For Deathstroke, Shadow Fury should be baseline instant, and Mortal Calo could be for demo. And then here you add up like Grimoire of Sacrifice or something. But yeah, Grimoire of Sacrifice needs removed from this row. Dark Color should be removed because Dark Lair shouldn't be in the game. It feels like it's a band-aid for a problem that they kept Dark Lair, by the way, because of Malefic Rapture. No other reason. No other reason. So you can extend the amount of Malefic Raptures you can do during the burst. And I don't like Malefic Rapture being the spender for single target. I don't like the Dark Lair. It doesn't fit the team. Here they just need to make an overall. I think Dark Soul should be baseline, and I think here we should be picking like between Death's Embrace, which was an execute, the old Eradication, which is actually for some reason even the icon it's on Destro, which gave you haste procs, and something else. Okay, just I don't know what, but something else. Okay, so with these changes, what would change? What I would change in terms of gameplay. Okay, the first problem I think with dot duration being fixed, I think the next problem is Malefic Rapture. Malefic Rapture, it's one of those spells that you press and that doesn't interact with your dots. Regardless of what you say or what you think, Malefic Rapture doesn't interact with your dots. It's the other way around. Your dots interact with Malefic Rapture. You want to keep the dots to do bigger Malefic Raptures. You don't want to do Malefic Raptures to do bigger dots, and that is a problem. Indeed, it makes no sense. It's what makes the feel of weirdness in the spec. So I would change that. And I have an idea for a Malefic Rapture that could actually be extremely good for PvE, and this is what I want to say, and then you tell me your idea. Okay, so first, in terms of shard spenders, I was thinking Haunt, and I always thought Haunt because I love the spell. I love the fact that it used to heal you, and this can be one baseline ability that just like the old Haunt just is the shard spender single target. But I have another idea, which is Rapid Contagion. Rapid Contagion, we can make Rapid Contagion the single target spell, and the reason why I like this more than Haunt, it's because Rapid Contagion it's instant. And my idea would be to make Rapid Contagion affect the target you target. So it would cost 3 shards, it would be instant. So for the first time in years, Warlocks wouldn't be 10 years behind in design, because if you go check any other caster, every single spender they do, it's instant. So Star Surge, DP, Devouring Plague, Earth Shock, the Fire Mage Combust, like. And I think one of the main problems we have is that we are a turret in both PvE and PvP. If you're not casting something or reapplying dots, you're losing a lot of damage. And by a lot, obviously, those other casters are also losing a lot of damage, but in comparison, it's not even funny. If you're not casting a Malefic Rapture, you're losing a lot of damage. So this can actually fix that. So let's say it just needed a little a little rework. So I wouldn't mind the three soul shard cost, but I think it should be like a low cooldown, like 5 to 10 second cooldown, or no cooldown, and yeah, just did the exact same thing. You would buff dot damage, obviously, before you did this. Just did the exact same thing, but yeah, just on a target, not on yourself, on the target. And in PvP, it could be undispellable, or if dispelled, you could have like some sort of soft dispel protection where you gain like one more shard or two more shards whenever it's dispelled, so you actually get something out of it, right? Okay, this is my idea for a single target, a single target spender. And by the way, I really think Rapid Contagion was their idea for single target, and they made it AoE because in PvP dot damage does nothing. They made it AoE for PvP, but I don't know why, but I really think Rapid Contagion was an idea for single target. It really feels like that uh, for single target damage. But since it does kind of the same thing as Haunt, I think they backtracked on it. But yeah, Rapid Contagion as the single target uh, in a good in and then you would do rapid contagions on, or you would keep rapid contagion on like two or three targets, right? It needs to be really good to the point where it's better than Malefic Rapture. Okay, the next two ideas for AoE. I think Malefic Rapture should do the same as the Shadow Priest talent does, where if you have a Shadow Word Pain Death and you Mind Seer and you press that talent, it spreads. If you already have Shadow Word Pain, it pops, kind of like Malefic Rapture, but all instant. So for Malefic Rapture, my idea would actually be whenever you press it, it doesn't really do that much damage, but it spreads the dots, or at least it spreads agony and corruption to the others, right? And the second moment you press it again and you have it, then it does extra damage. Kind of like the Shadow Priest talent. I think it could be a good idea, and it would unblur the line between single target damage from the single target damage spender and AoE spender. I think Malefic Rapture doing the same thing as the Shadow Priest talent would actually be cool. But then, at that point, why do you need Seed of Corruption? And I don't know. Maybe Seed is just really old. For some reason, I actually like Seed. But maybe you see it at the start just to apply Corruption and Agony, and then you start popping Malefic Raptures. And this would need some tuning because you wouldn't want to trade Malefic Raptures on 4 targets against Rapid Contagion on 2, for example. But yeah, that's tuning. I think this would actually be a good use of a new spell, but a spell that at the moment it feels really weird to use because it feels like your dots do nothing, and if you're not casting Malefic Rapture, you're doing no damage. But let me think what you guys think of this redesign. The Rapid Contagion for single target and Malefic Rapture for to spread dots and then do AoE damage. Okay, so now I'm gonna talk about PvP. And right now, it's in a really weird spot. We still don't know if Warlocks are super squishy or if other classes are completely broken. Because we don't know the tuning that will come. If all the classes, other classes lose damage, Warlocks will be extremely good because all of the sudden no other class will even touch Warlock pressure in trees or twos. But the pressure comes from, excuse me, from Malefic Rapture, which I don't like. So in terms of PvP, my changes would be, and once again, I'm gonna repeat them. Inter I've been saying the same, but in terms of PvP, I would like to see a nerf to Soul Shape, a nerf to Soul Leech, and then a buff to Demon Armor to reduce damage by around 20%. I think this would make Warlocks not feel like they are mages with the Soul Shape, right? Blinking 3 times and allowing to kite every single melee pretty much except Demon Hunters and Windwalkers. Solely change because then we are not too tanky. I don't think any class should be like a Boomkin right now where they just stay in the middle, go bear form and they're fine, or a fire mage or any mage spec for that matter. Um, and after you do that, I would like to see a damage shift from Malefic Rapture to dots. So Malefic Rapture in PvP wouldn't do that much damage. It would do still good damage, but it wouldn't. The variation between pressing it or not pressing it in PvP, it shouldn't be like 2k DPS, okay? So I would like to see a shift from that to dots. With more dot duration, we would be able to siphon life as well in PvP, which would, in my opinion, be great because we are lacking a lot of self-healing. And then, let me just get to Oribos. And then maybe a single target buff to Nightfall to Shadow Bolt. And if I'm free casting a Shadow Bolt, even in arena, opponents should be kind of scary, scared, right? So, and I'm casting Shadow Bolt while getting procs of Nightfall. Like it's a 1.7 cast, it should do more than 718 damage. This is around 500 with versatility in players. So yeah, those are all the changes I would like to see either this expansion or in the future. I think the Malefic Rapture we won't see any changes this expansion. I think the Rapid Contagion being baseline and doing the single target damage for us would actually be sick. It would feel like a haunt, but in 2021, not in 2008. And yeah, I think the spec it has so much potential to actually be good, and all Blizzard needs to do is just to look at the main issues. The main issue is not that Malefic Rapture and dots do no damage. Well, it is obviously, and Malefic Rapture does most of the damage. The main issue, and they need to go by steps, right? Okay, what's the first problem? Dot duration. Dot duration is horrific. Like it's the main problem for Warlocks right now in PvE, and a big problem in PvP because you're only reapplying dots. So let's fix that. This unlocks Siphon Life, which allows with single target pressure. Um, okay, another issue. Shadow Bolt is hitting for 700. Like it makes no sense. Let's buff that. Unlocks another talent. Because overall, the spec is good. The spec is really good. It just doesn't feel fun to play. And they can't disregard. I hate when people say, "Oh, you need to give constructive feedback." Well, saying the spec is not fun to play, it is constructive feedback. It People might not even realize why they don't like the spec, but then they see a video on YouTube, probably mine, obviously, nah, but they see a video or something on YouTube and someone is complaining about this kind of stuff, and they, oh my god, yeah, that's why I don't fucking enjoy playing it, because I need to read out every 14 seconds. Every 14 seconds, you need to reapply a dot. Not even 14, every 12 seconds, you need to reapply a dot. And then people go to forums and they ask, oh, I want the GCD change, but that won't change anything. Yes, it will make you faster reapplying the dots, but you will still be reapplying the dots as much as you are right now. So it's not a change that actually helps the spec. What needs to be changed is it's legit the duration. The duration is so low, it's actually laughable. The fact that corruption it's 14 seconds without a talent, it's laughable. You go back to classic or TBC when it arrives, and Saffron life lasts for 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Agony lasts for I don't know 25. Corruption for like what 20 24. Like they just need to look at the main issue, and the main issue, like I said on alpha, like I said on beta, is dot duration. Then the other issue is spamming Malefic Rapture. It's completely bunkers and retarded that Blizzard doesn't see the problem with the spec, because we are applying dots not to do damage with them, but to do damage with this second party spell. It's almost like it feels like you're just reapplying dots to then do damage with Malefic Rapture, which it makes no sense because the dot should be the one of the main sources of damage. I would say like the dot damage, single target wise, should be around 60% of your damage, spread about around your dots, and then Shadow Bolt and obviously Drain Soul should be the rest of your damage, like it was in Wrath of the Lich King. And the fact that Drain Soul, the most iconic Warlock spell in the game, the the spell that almost never changed since Classic, it's a talent. It makes me sad. Just makes me sad, and it would make the rotation so much better. So you just press Shadow Bolt, gain Shadow's Embrace until 35%, and then you execute with Drain Soul. It makes the spec so fluid, and while you're executing with Drain Soul, you're reapplying your dots, and then pressing Nightfall procs from Shadow Bolt procs from Nightfall, and it just feels so much more alive, the spec. If you play um, or if you play during Wrath of the Lich King, the spec wasn't performing well. It was in Nax Ramas, but after Nax Ramas, it wasn't performing at a really high level. But it was fun to play, and you didn't really have warlocks complaining about it because it was fun to play. And this is the thing: we are playing a game. It needs to be fun, and it's not fun reapplying dots every 12 seconds. You feel like a dot simulator, and the worst part about reapplying the dots with the current design is you're not even reapplying the dots to do damage with them. You're reapplying the dots to Malefic Rapture do damage with them. So that's why it feels so horrific. But yeah, I think this video has been up for too long. I might have forgotten something. My main idea was actually Rapid Contagion and Malefic Rapture changes, which would be hella good in both PvE and PvP, because all of the sudden in PvP you have a single target damage, single target priority damage buff like Haunt used to be, but it's instant, which helps us. And in PvE you would gain, besides that, you would gain a way to spread your dots into AoE without much of a build up, right? Because at the moment the problem is all the build up and all the ramp up that you need to do before you actually start doing damage, compared to any other class. Like a warrior just leaps in and blade storms everyone with sweeping strikes up, and unhinged legendary, and just does a lot of damage. Meanwhile, the warlock is still applying agonies and waiting for the seed to proc. But yeah, those are my thoughts, guys. Tell me what you think. I think affliction, it's almost there, man. It's really almost there. I think people during the beta were retarded, and people were saying stuff like you just need to learn how to play. Like dot duration is not a problem. It would make the spec feel unskilled. And if you guys think reapplying a dot every 12 seconds is skill, fuck you, because it's not. Like the skill from the Warlock always came from, yes, reapplying dots, but then doing the small things in, especially in arena, doing the small things, the good fears, the good spell locks, the good devours, the good dispels. Like it didn't came from reapplying dots. Reapplying dots is actually the easy part. That's why I actually stopped. By the way, in Kata, because I didn't like Soul Swap, the idea behind Soul Swap, even though it was not like the same as Mop because you removed the dots from your main target, but I didn't really like the idea. And then I didn't really like, I hated Mop version. I absolutely didn't want to play Warlock in Mop, and I didn't. Um, well, I played a bit after, but Kata design, at least we didn't had shards, right? Kata design, it's my second favorite, by the way. Even with the Soul Swap, I just didn't really had much time to play there, but it was my second design. I think Soul Shards are just a way to strangle or secondary resources that are not mana. It feels like there are fucking roots for the classes. You can't move your strangle there, and it just feels super awful. I think mana should be the main resource. But yeah, this video has been way too long. Thanks for watching. Smash that like button, those 9 people that usually do, and subscribe to the channel if you want to support it. I'm not really gonna do anything crazy in terms of content or anything, but if you want to get notifications, yeah. Okay, guys. See ya. Peace.